This whole world belongs to God. It is designed by God. It is ruled by God. And everything that therein is comes under the might of God. Man went deceiving himself that he owns this world. And there are those that believe that they control the world. And every man walks never knowing that it is God that directs the ways of men, and God directs the affairs of the world. There is no one else. There never was. There never ever will be. And the children of your God knew these things when they too came as gods. For they came in the full knowledge and wisdom that informed them of the way the world exists and the way God exists in the world. Everywhere God has shown man that he was always in the dark of everything that he was given to see and to know. For he did not know that he has no might and power of his own, nor does he have a breath of his own. And in all the ways these things were told to man, man did not understand that all he is a manifesting presence of the way his creator gods are. And no one found a way to know that the things of these old and weary worlds were always the way man was shown, that his creators are so great and almighty that he cannot fathom the extent to which the might and power of an almighty God exists. The interaction of man with man was to demonstrate to everyone that the masculine and feminine principle exists in all things, and when they exist in all things, they work for the good of all things. In knowing these things, man would have known that his gods work exactly in the same way, so that everything that became manifest unto man, it was to show man that the nature of God is both masculine and feminine, because in the nature of God, all things are conceived and revealed. And man saw this in his own coming forth. But he had not understood the principle that was shown to him, that except there is a masculine and feminine principle in everything, nothing can exist. Nothing can exist. Man went everywhere trying to alter the order of God in all the things that man does that are despicable unto God. And man did not know that none of these things were ever the ways of the divine. For every way that man practices the things that are not in the divine order of God, he brings his world closer and closer to its final desolation. Wherever man went, God showed man. There are those ways of God that are in the divine laws of God that operate according to the divine order of God. And except man follows these laws within the divine order of God, he will never last, nor his world will not last. And so man has no way of knowing why it is he comes for a time and he leaves, because he knew not the way that his own eternal light was dependent upon the nature of man in the keeping of the laws of God within the divine order. The rest of the world continues, but man does not. And he looks around him and he sees a world that is greater than himself. He sees a world that goes on beyond himself. And he has not really understood that all these things demonstrate to men that in keeping the laws of God within the divine order of God, they continue to go on and on and on and on and on and on and on. Every plague and pestilence, every calamity that came to this world was as a result of man changing the divine order of God. And man did not know that in changing the divine order of God, he would change not only the nature of God, but he would change the way in which everything would come to him. There was a reason why your God said to man, love and do good. Love everything and do good. For everything will love you in return, and everything will do good for you in return. A man did not understand these things. For except he comes to know the way in which divine law works, he cannot understand the way in which the divine order was constructed in the whole world. It matters not what man attempts to do in a world that has gone out of control. He cannot reverse the process that he has started. And God keeps showing man that it matters not what you want to do, intend to do, what you propose to do. It will be disposed of. Because the world would only return to man what man has given to the world. You see why God is wise? God said to man, do unto others, as you would have others do unto you. But he presumed that all God said was, do unto other people. But God meant everything, everything, everything. Because everything exists as God, for everything has God in it. And when man would have known that everything carries the same nature as himself and was given to work in the same divine order like himself, he would have come to recognize that to maintain the divine order of God, he must follow the sacred and divine laws of God. Nothing that man has ever done was ever faithful to the God that prescribed unto man the way in which he would walk in the power of light and find the way to be as great as his creators. And no man found that way, couldn't find that way, wouldn't find it. And all the prescriptions of men were all the ways that God said. Man fools himself. He wants to go to this place and he wants to go that place. And he makes all his calculations that, or these formulas and these theories and all these things would happen. God looked at man and God asked man, why are you so mindful of yourself? Why are you so mindful of self? If God is in charge of the world and it is God's world, it is God that directs everything. And so man deceives himself into believing that all these things that he says he has come up with, that has been given to him by alien gods and astral gods and all manner of gods, didn't understand what God showed them. It is because of God that it is possible for you to do these things. And the children of God knew these things because God said, when you came here and you dematerialized, what formula caused you to dematerialize? When you were able to travel between the sun and earth, what formula did you use? And God said, children themselves get carried away with all this nonsense about this astrological this and this astronomical this and these mathematical calculations. And God said, look, son, tell them, you're fooled by all these devils that know it not how they were misdirected in the ways in which they went. Who can do anything except God give it to be done? No formula can give you anything. Tell them, stop being foolish. Stop being foolish. Return to the true knowledge of yourself. And when you get to the true knowledge of yourself, you would know that everything that is in the power of God that is given unto you is in you. And when you know how to access it, you will know you didn't need anything other than God. And that's why God told them, all you need is God. Tell them these things. For the time has come for the children not only to awaken, but the children to start rising. And they can only rise when they have come to the true consciousness of God within them.